So, hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Campfire. I'm Stephen Biggin.
I'm Chris Kohlerberg.
And today we are looking at a film entitled...
From Beyond.
From Beyond.
From Beyond was made in 1986 by the duo of Stuart Gordon and Brian Usna. You may remember Stuart Gordon from the man who brought us such things as Reanimator, Dagon, Dolls.
Dolls. Is that the first one they made?
No, I think Reanimator might have been.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I love Dolls.
Yeah, Dolls is really underrated. Mostly he specializes, not exclusively, but mostly he specializes in adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft stories, which this is no different. This is based on an H.P. Lovecraft story by the same name of From Beyond. It was a short story, I think maybe a couple paragraphs.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. The introduction to this movie is really the entire H.P. Lovecraft story, right?
Yeah, when the way the movie starts, and by the time the initial intro credits roll, is you've already covered the whole H.P. Lovecraft story, and then these guys just came and kind of built on that, and kind of, as you saw, went a little fucking overboard with it.
yeah. The direction they took it is very ingenious for sure.
It was an interesting movie to say the least. It's one of my favorites.
Me too. It's almost shocking to watch.
It's really good. There is a lot of very fantastic practical effects.
Tons.
A lot of what the fuck moments, probably about every 5 minutes. When this thing really gets going. The budget on this thing was $4.5 million.
Wow, that's it, really?
The gross was 1.2.
Oh man.
So it did not do well.
What a tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, it made, maybe a third of its box office back.
That's sad. It's worth a lot more than that for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, it's one of my personal favorites. So From Beyond stars the incomparable Jeffrey Combs, B-movie Romeo of the awkward love scene. He was also in Stuart Gordon's Reanimator, along with a million other. I mean, you've probably seen him as backup roles here and there. He's kind of just been in everything.
Yeah.
But only stars in like really crappy B-horror movies.
He's kind of the king.
Yeah, well, one of. It also stars Barbara Crampton, who also was in Reanimator. And then Ken Faree as Bubba Brown-Lee. Most interesting intro to a character ever is when he introduces himself. And this makes me laugh so much for no stupid reason. It's just dumb as hell, but it makes me giggle. He's like, name's Bubba Brown-Lee. You can just call me Brown-Lee. Used to play pro football. We were all crazy.
I'm Sergeant Buford Brownlee, but my teammates call me Bubba. I used to play pro football. We were all crazy.
Who introduces himself like that?
And then scene cut. No further explanation of that.
No, I mean, that's all you need to know is that's Bubba Brown-Lee right there, and he used to play football, and that motherfucker was crazy. Or at least they used to. They used to all be crazy.
We were all crazy.
Yeah, let's just jump right into this sucker, because there is a lot to talk about in this movie. I mean, a lot. This movie is not a lot of filler. They really just jump into the storyline, and like I said before, the original H.P. Lovecraft story takes place in the whole intro of the movie before the credits roll. So Jeffrey Combs, who is Dr. Crawford Tillinghast, is working on a machine that him and his partner, who will be introduced later, invented. And what it is meant to do is stimulate the pineal gland, which is pretty much like your third eye.
A chakra of some sort.
Yeah, like
it's a real gland.
Yeah, it's a real gland, but in this movie, if you vibrate it, you get to see into this whole other world.
It kind of connects. You
get to see from beyond even. So he's working on his machine. It's late night. His partner, Dr. Pretorius, is not with him at the time. He is in his bedroom, which we will later find out is an S&M sex dungeon.
There's chains and whips.
I'm not even kidding about that. There's whips, there's chains, there's all kinds of shit.
Stirrups and stuff.
Leather and restraints, and there's handcuffs hanging off the wall. It's some fucking ridiculous shit. Dr. Tillinghast, played by Jeffrey Combs, flips this sucker on and finally gets it to work. And a purplish pink hue overtakes the room that the machine, which is called the resonator, is producing. Basically, it vibrates your pineal gland, and you see all the beings we were talking about around you. So he starts seeing these neon eels, jellyfish floating around, and he's like, "Oh, a whole new world! I'm Aladdin in this bitch. Look at me floating around with my pineal glands." And then one of the eels takes a big old chunk out of his cheek.
Right, he gets a little too close, a little too comfortable, bites Mr.
He
Combs.
did not respect those eels.
No,
and their territorial personal bubble.
Which, do they ever, I don't remember, do they ever say if this is what they're expecting to happen?
They were not expecting this. They were, if I remember correctly, they were just trying to stimulate the pineal gland to see beyond their normal sight.
Okay.
And see and these monsters.
So they had no idea what was waiting for them.
No.
This is, well, not a happy discovery, but...
They didn't know they would be sent to like the neon pink underbelly of like late 80s LA with hot pink snakes everywhere and jellyfish. So, he gets a big old chunker taken out of that there cheek of his.
Yeah.
And he flips the machine off, rightly so. So he goes and gets Dr. Pretorius from his sex dungeon. He tells him the machine's working. They go and fire it up. Smash cut to the neighbor. And it's a little old lady and her dog, and they're calling the cops like, "They're at it again with the bright lights and all the sounds.
Yeah.
You said you'd send a cop if there was any more disturbances."
Right.
"Well, I'm disturbed." Hangs up the phone, and she decides that she's going to get all Dick Tracy on it and just go investigate it herself, which, bad call.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So the neighbor is at the gate now, goes to go in. Jeffrey Combs, he comes running out of the house in obviously a panic.
That's right.
Past the woman. Her little shithound dog goes running in the house. So she goes in to follow it. And inside, we have Dr. Dr. Pretorius laying on his stomach, missing his head, and the little dog is chewing on his neck stump. And then that's where our intro credits roll, and that would be the end of the H.P. Lovecraft story, and into what Brian Usna and Stuart Gordon came up with for this movie.
Right. So it opens from there. They're in it's in a psych ward.
Yes, we get introduced to Barbara Crampton's character as Dr. Catherine McMichaels, who is going to study Dr. Tillinghast because they think he killed Pretorius. They go in there and there's a headless guy and he's making up stories about eels in flight.
Yeah.
And says something along the lines of, it came and it ate him.
Yeah.
Hit his head off like a gingerbread man.
And he's doing that. It's his trademark thing where it's so dramatic he can barely get the words out.
Bit off his head. Like a gingerbread man.
He overacts everything in the most wondrous of ways.
It's great.
There's nothing subtle about a Jeffrey Combs role, ever.
No.
He has two modes. He's either asleep or full tilt. I mean, even in movies like The Frighteners, where he had like a small role.
Oh God.
His role in The Frighteners was my favorite thing in that whole movie, and I do like that movie a lot. But
Me too. But in this, so he's giving the overacted, dramatic description of what happened, in the house. It ate his head. Barbara Crampton doesn't seem very perturbed by this.
No.
She actually is sort of enticed by his story and wants to research this further.
Yeah, she wants to know what was up with the experiments they had going on in the house, because you get the impression that Dr. Pretorius was something of a noted man in his field. He was respected.
Yeah.
Especially by her. She looked up to him for some odd reason. She didn't know about the sex dungeon at this time.
Right.
She'll find out.
So,
but one of the things that just really made me laugh, there's like little subtle things that just really cracked me up about this movie, is when Jeffrey Combs delivers that line that it bit off his head. You know, like so overly dramatic. There's for some reason a xylophone noise.
Oh yeah.
It's like
It's like a Twilight Zone-y sort of
xylophone-y. Yeah. This is xylophone because I mean, when you hit a dramatic role and there's that beat to let it really sink in, nothing sinks in better than you fire up that xylophone.
So they're discussing this bitten off head and Jeff Combs' possible participation in it, and
she comes forward, and she's a doctor as well.
Yeah.
She comes forward that she wants to reconduct the experiment to see what went wrong and if it gives any explanations on what happened to Dr. Pretorius, because they never found his head.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Gone.
That's when we get introduced to Ken Faree's Bubba Brownlee.
Right.
Sergeant Bubba Brownlee.
Barbara barely has to press for any of this, too, I wanted to say.
No, her and Credentials Man from Life Force would probably, be a power couple.
Yeah.
In the 80s horror movie world. If those two were to hook up with his steely gaze.
Oh, they'd be unstoppable.
Yeah. They would be a power couple. He'd probably be like Trump now. He'd be in the White House. She'd be wearing offensive coats. So in walks Bubba Brownlee, who used to play pro football.
Yes.
They were all crazy.
We were all crazy.
He's in charge, yet right? He's in charge of this,
Supposedly? He's the police sergeant. He's supposed to be overseeing it because technically Dr. Tillinghast is a prisoner in a murder case in their eyes.
Right.
But this doctor, Credentials Woman...
Yeah, Credentials Woman.
Unofficial bride of Credentials Man from the Life Force podcast. Just kind of tells him what to do, and he's like, word, okay.
He tells them throughout the film several times what he wants to do, and they openly just ignore him.
Yeah.
I'm the law here. You turn on that machine and it's reckless endangerment.
What are you, police chief? Or sergeant?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
My PhD trumps the shit out of you.
Yeah, which I don't know. He has the gun. He's the biggest guy in the
He used to play pro football. They were crazy.
We were all crazy.
Yeah.
Do you want to fuck with a pro football playing crazy man?
So they get together. They're moving into the house.
They go back to the house where the experiments were down, where the resonator's at, where Dr. Pretorius lost his head. And they get there, the power's out. So in looking to get the power back on, Jeffrey Combs just disappears.
He just leaves right away.
No one's paying attention to the possible murderous
right. And then
mad doctor.
Once they realize he's gone, Brownlee goes, basically, let him be. We got to get the power on.
Like, we'll get the power on, then we'll find the escaped murderous mental patient.
Right, would you think that would be precedent? Let's get the possible
Hey, he's
murderer.
a man of priorities. We gotta get the power on, then we'll find crazy McMurderface.
Which they found quickly. They found that power right away. It's in the basement, right?
The machine had all these wires running through the house. They followed the wires down to the power box. As was explained to them, they needed to draw extra power to run the machine, so they rewired the whole house. So there's these big cartoony cables going down the stairs into the basement, into the power box.
That's right, okay.
So they get the power back on, and they're like, let's find Crazy Face McMurder guy. That's where they come across, for the first time, Dr. Pretorius' sex dungeon.
Yeah.
They open the door, the whips, the chains.
Lee finds it first, right? And he starts playing.
Yeah, there's a TV there where he's conveniently Dennis Reynolds up a sex tape and has it loaded up, ready to go. So he presses play, and there's Dr. Pretorius. He's got this topless woman. She's chained up. Her arms are restrained, and he's behind her, just whipping the shit out of her with a cat of nine tails. And she's in some leather outfit with her tits hanging out, and she's obviously into it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, he stops and creepily, aggressively grabs her by the face, sticks his tongue down her throat, and then back to whipping. Back to whipping, just putting work into that ass.
This guy was into some weird shit.
And they watch it for kind of an uncomfortable amount of time. And Brownlee makes a statement like, "Oh, this is the guy you look up to?"
Yeah.
And she's all like, "I don't care about his personal life."
Yeah, she turns it off and dryly says that, she doesn't care about his personal life.
And that's when they find the room where the experiments were going down. And out of the darkness rushes Jeffrey Combs with an axe above his head.
Yeah.
And Brownlee just kind of casually scoops him up. Well, after a short conversation about Dr. Pretorius' sex life, Combs goes into this long speech about how you bring over women and they drink fine wine and eat fine meals and it would always end in screaming.
Yeah.
By the way, this is how he delivers his lines.
Exactly.
Always ends in screaming.
Right, yeah.
And I love him for it.
It's great, man.
Like it's like watching William Shatner work. If those two worked off each other, it would be. I think it'd be like a time cop situation where the world would undo each other itself.
Yeah,
with those two just interacting with each other.
What would that movie be and look like?
I don't know, but we need to make it. If we ever get money, let's just do the Jeffrey Combs, William Shatner dialogue. Shoot it out.
It'd just be them. You really wouldn't have to do a whole lot. Just have them speaking to each other in a room. And
we wouldn't even have to write a script. Just talk. We're gonna film this madness.
That would be incredible. I bet they both would be game for it too.
Heavy-handed. All the acting. So, after this weird, brief conversation about Dr. Pretorius and how he gets down, he goes hard in the paint in the bedroom. You don't want none of that guy if you don't want to walk right the next day. They decide, let's fire up this goddamn machine that already killed one person. So he's like, Jeffrey Combs is like, Dr. Tillinghast. It's like, don't move. If you're in the field and you don't move, the creatures cannot see you.
Yeah.
What do?
He says this too. How many times? Like in succession?
I would say a baker's dozen.
Okay.
He says it a lot of times. He really lays it on, like, don't fucking move, guys.
I think he even says before he finally flips on, he goes, and remember.
Yeah.
Right? Like a final
don't
time.
fucking move. What's the first thing they do when he flips the switch on?
They both start, she's moving her head. Brownlee is walking right towards.
He might as well have been on Beat Street. He might as well have started breakdancing. he's so animated and moving around.
He just darts right forward, right away. And did we see, so we're seeing the eels again, starting to fly around them.
The eels and the jellyfish.
And he reaches out towards one.
And it takes a big old bite of Brownlee's wrist.
It just, clamps right on there.
Because, he's like, hey, don't move or the monsters can see you. So what's the first thing he does? Starts, fucking busting a move and grabbing at monsters.
And is that the point where Jeffrey and Barbara are just looking at each other?
Yeah, so when the pineal gland gets good and vibrated, everyone gets super horned up.
Yeah.
So we got Dr. Tillinghast and Dr. McMichaels. They're just staring at each other like I want to fucking dip you in honey and lick you dry.
So it attacks Brownlee. They kind of snap out of their trance from looking at each other, right? And they notice that he's being attacked.
That he is attacked by the jellyfish, and that's when the fun starts. Dr. Pretorius shows up, our headless doctor who's supposed to be dead, and everyone's like, what's going on? He's super slimy and naked for some reason.
So he starts talking to them. What's he see? He's saying stuff just about being whole now.
The machine, and this is where he is now, and it's almost like I have such sights to show you, like Hellraiser or something. So Jeffrey Combs, is this really you?
Yeah.
He's like, touch me if you don't think so.
Yeah.
Is it really you, Edward? Touch me, if it pleases you.
When a grown naked man who's covered in slime asked me to touch him.
Who you saw
Who I saw
decapitated.
get tapped. Brad wouldn't go, sliding on up to him laying hands.
Right, yeah. Just casually touching him.
Yeah.
But he does.
He does.
And he touches his shoulder and
it just sinks in.
Like gelatin or something.
Like somebody sit into a beanbag chair. You can see all the fingers just kind of like set into his hairy shoulders.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa.
And then, he recoils in fear. And then it's my favorite part of the movie. Pretorius starts cracking up and wipes his face, and his skin comes off almost like
very
toilet
easily.
paper. Yeah.
Like paper mache. It really wasn't being held on there by much.
No, and it just looks so insane. He's laughing, and it just
ripped my face off.
Yeah, it's so crazy looking.
And then like worms or something. Like it's a weird behind shot where he's like and it looks like there's like hundreds of like worms
it's like Cthulhu
hanging out of his
sort of
shit.
Yeah, which
then,
looks awesome. I
then
love that.
They turn the machine off.
And then they turn it off. Everything disappears.
And she was like, "Wow, you weren't lying." He's like, "Bitch, I told you."
Right.
So then they're talking about the experiment, and Bubba Brownlee brings up his second greatest line in here.
And this is how we verify
that it has a bit of a sexual charge to it.
Right.
He's like, well, what about my hard-on?
How about the hard-on I got? Is there a statistical correlation for that, too?
What about my hard-on?
Or, no.
It's something
What
like
about
that.
the hard-on?
Or my boner or something?
No, he says hard-on.
Is it hard-on? Okay. Yeah. And then that's when...
No, he says, how about that hard-on I got?
Okay.
Because I made sure to make a note of it because it made me laugh so hard.
Okay. And that's when Barbara verifies that, well, there could be some kind of sexual side effect to the vibrations.
Yes.
And then it becomes concrete, and that's just what it is from then on out. You get moderately turned on when your pineal gland gets rubbed. That sounds dirty.
I mean, the pineal gland towards the end of this movie gets a little phallic.
So they verify that. They're eating...
some chicken and dumplings.
Chicken and dumplings.
Which, after watching this movie, I made some myself. I was like, oh, that looks good. I'm going to make myself some
that.
chicken and dumplings. Used to play football.
So they're making those dumplings.
Everybody eats. They're talking about hard-ons and horniness. And then
Brown's insisting on leaving.
He's insisting on leaving. Jeffrey Combs is way into this idea.
Yeah.
And the girl's like, no, we need to keep experimenting.
Yeah, we can't leave now. We've gone too far, and this is
like
important.
Comes up with this theory and like this may be why schizophrenic, like people who are schizophrenic, maybe just be more sensitive to these vibrations, and maybe the things that we think they're hallucinating or they're actually seeing because they're sensitive to vibrations. They could see what the resonator would require us.
And this could lead to all kinds of new developments in schizophrenic research and possibly help them, deduce what's the cause of it, how to sort of curb it.
Yeah.
So that's very noble of her.
Ish.
Because at the same time...
Seems really irresponsible as well.
I could suspend my disbelief enough to be like, okay, they let them bring this psychopath back to this place to turn on this machine, under a doctor's supervision. But what I can't believe is after they saw that it worked, that they would continue to experiment with this. It's like, no, you verified it. Call the army or something.
Yeah, or let Homeboy go, because he obviously didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Send Bubba Lee's crazy football playing ass back to the station, and you and some scientists, team up. Get a team together.
Yeah.
Put some safety checks in play.
Right. Something. Yeah. It's
act like you give a fuck about your life.
Yeah.
You see monsters. Brown Lee's getting chewed up by jellyfish.
Right. Yeah.
Homeboy's showing up, ripping his own face off. I'd be like, you know what? This may be something we don't want to just play with.
Brownlee and Combs want to leave.
So, like we said, the girl pretty much just gets her way. She's like, nope, we're gonna keep doing this. So they all go to bed. She's in a nice, oversized bedroom. Dr. Tillinghast is sleeping in the sex dungeon, and I don't think it really shows where Brown Lee's shacking up.
Barbara's tossing and turning, and she's like getting turned on in their sleep.
She gets out of bed. She's all horned up, because apparently when the pineal gland starts getting a little bit of stimuli, you're just a horny sex freak from then on out. She goes up to the machine, fires that sucker back on up. And this is where things really get fun. Tillinghast wakes up, figures out what's going on, goes running up to the machine. Pretorius shows back up, has the girl, and now half his face looks like chewed up bubble gum. Like, well, not just his face, like his body. Like, he's fine this half, and then this half's all like...
It's like melted wax, almost, like that kind of look into his shoulder and the side of his body.
It's like he had like a really bad stroke on the one side, and then they took all the bones out.
And he has her, right? Doesn't he have her? He ripped her. Is that the part where he rips off her
shirt,
her nightgown, or whatever?
Yeah, and he's playing with her tits with his big elongated fingers.
So yeah, he's grabbing her tits with that. Combs runs up.
He's trying to turn the machine off. The machine's running itself. He can't turn it off. So he's gonna go down to the basement and cut the power. Not on Brown Lee's watch. So he's trying to get down the stairs. Brown Lee comes running out of whichever bedroom he was in the tightest, smallest pair of yellow underoos, nothing else, and just tackles the dog shit out of Jeffrey Combs down the stairs.
Down the stairs. Doesn't say a word. Doesn't say, hey, where you going?
Just tackles the fuck. He could have been getting a glass of water. Just woke up in the middle of the night like, I am part of it. Now my watch, Brownlee. Wham! And where was Brownlee's enthusiasm when they first got there before they realized he wasn't a murderer?
That's what I'm saying.
When he just took off with his axe.
That's the first time he asserts any sort of authority, and it's overkill. I mean, yeah, he could have killed him. It's a football tackle.
It's a football tackle. It was beautiful form. He used to play pro football. He was crazy.
We were all crazy.
All crazy.
And he showed it. He hiked that bitch down the stairs. But Jeffrey Combs was like, God damn. You just fucked my whole world up, Bubba Brownlee.
But not really, though, because he gets right up.
Well, I mean, throughout the duration of this film, Jeffrey Combs is getting wrecked from scene to scene. There's not a single scene in this where he doesn't get wrecked a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah. And he gets up, and what does he just goes,
the machine's on.
It's running itself.
It's running itself. We have to go cut the power in the basement. She's upstairs getting molested by the creepy bubblegum melty doctor. They go running downstairs, and for some reason there's all this water in the basement now, and there's a giant worm down there.
Yeah.
Like it looks like exactly like a sandworm from Dune.
It does, yeah. And
in fact, it probably was the sandworm from Dune. They probably just like, you still got that thing?
So he's jumping over this thing in the water, trying to get to the
power
circuit
box.
board. Yeah, to turn it off.
That's when the worm gets Jeffrey Combs' head in its mouth.
It starts sucking on its head.
Sucking on his head.
At the same time, in the attic, Pretorius's head mutates.
It's some weird...
It's like a
It has
bird
a
insect
beak.
thing. Yeah.
It's got several beaks, and her head's in his mouth.
They're both.
He's downstairs in a worm. I think we were talking. There's a theme later on in the movie where they're trying to eat pineal glands and brains.
Yeah.
So I think they were going after the brains.
These,
which is also why Pretorius had his head eaten.
Right.
So early in the flick.
The creatures from the other dimension seek out brains.
Yeah.
And as we'll see later, they actually have some kind of enhanced infrared sort of vision that helps them do so.
Yeah.
So they're getting their heads sucked.
They're getting their heads sucked. Brownlee goes jumping on in and starts stabbing up some worms and cuts the power.
He only stabs them once, too, I want to say.
That was a pussy-ass worm. So, for some odd reason, now they're both were getting their heads sucked.
Yeah.
She upstairs is, still like, his hair, from here on out, Jeffrey Combs has no fucking hair.
No, he's like a monk.
The fucking worm sucked all his goddamn hair off for some reason.
Right.
So we cut to him bald. He's like in his underwear in the sex dungeon sleeping it off, and you can see that his ribs are just all bruised up. His fucking hair's missing. He's got a big bite out of his cheek from the jelly. This dude's getting fucked up this whole movie.
He looks just like Powder. Do you remember that movie Powder?
Yeah, that guy. It was made by that rapist who made all the Jeepers Creepers movies. So he's all fucked up on the bed. She's in there. Brownlee's in there. He's like, "Yo, this is your fucking fault. We're getting out of here. I'm gonna go get the car ready, get dressed," because she's in a bathrobe. So he's getting the car ready. This bitch just puts on the leather dominatrix outfit.
And she's rubbing the leather and getting all turned on.
She's
by
getting
it.
all horned up. Then she looks down at bruised up, ugly ass, beating to shit Jeffrey Combs with his fresh bald head, and she does the weirdest fucking thing. It's like one of those things that every time I see it, I just shudder. Like, really?
I didn't even notice until
I pointed it out.
I noticed that she did something, but I didn't realize.
You didn't realize
she was
exactly what she was doing?
doing. Yeah.
What this dopey bitch does. She gets all leather daddied out, and she sits down next to Jeffrey Combs, who has obviously had a real bad fucking night because of her. And she's all horned up, and she slides her hand down onto his dick under the blanket, gets herself a whole handful of dick sweat, and just starts rubbing it all over her lips. It's like,
Tasting it.
that's some good Jeffrey Combs ball gravy, straight from the taint. So she's all horned up. Brownlee comes back. She starts trying to get on Brownlee. She comes back. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, he walks in. She's now straddling Combs.
Yeah, at this point she's straddling. He's still sleeping. He's sleeping through this whole thing. He must be a hard sleep because he's all bruised up. You'd think he'd be sore. Like,
well, he spent all night.
Get the fuck off of me, you
spent
bald,
all-
sweat licking fucking weirdo.
He was all worn out from getting sucked all night.
Leave my balls and my machine alone. You are making horrible life decisions every other scene in this movie.
He's kind of a tragic. You called him earlier an anti-hero. I would almost call him like a tragic figure.
I only call him an anti-hero because of what starts happening after this. We'll get to that, but if you remember, after they get back to the hospital, he's quite a nefarious character.
It's not, I would say, though, we'll get to it, but I would say it's not quite his fault.
No. Throughout all this, I forgot to make mention is that Jeffrey Combs starts getting like a darkened mark on his forehead, and it starts, they show it kind of starting to like bubble up here and there.
Yeah.
Which is his pineal gland has been stimulated and it's growing.
It's growing, right.
Which will come into play heavily.
Yeah.
Into the rest of this movie. So, Brownlee's a crazy pro football playing ass. And by this time, they make an extra point to show that he played football because he's wearing his own jersey.
Yeah.
At this point, with a gun holster on the outside. So, pro football player, but I'm still a cop. So, you know, she's all in her leather daddy gear. She gets off of beat the fuck up, ball sweat drained Jeffrey Combs, and then she starts trying to come on to Brownlee. And at first he's all like, he's trying to resist it, but
yeah,
she's looking all good with her 80s ass and thong hanging out. And eventually he grabs her, and there's a mirror on the ceiling in the sex dungeon. Of course there is. And he shows her himself. He's like, is this you? Is this who you are? And she's like, I don't know anymore.
Yeah. So the machine starts itself.
Starts itself right back up.
And they run up there.
So they rush up there. Pretorius is back, but now he's like this weird hunched over form, and his neck's on a stalk.
That's right.
And his pineal gland's hanging out like a big fucking pink dick out of his forehead.
Okay, yeah.
You know, he's after the girl. Brownlee goes to protect her, and then out of nowhere, bees!
Right.
A whole lot of cosmic bees.
Which are like pink.
Which are
like
pink.
Little pink beads flying at them.
It kind of just looked like they filled up like a sawdust gun and just ejected all these bees at him. But it eats him to basically nothing.
Yeah.
Like he's a head and half a torso and then bones on the floor like. Rawr.
So he gets eaten.
He gets eaten up by bees. Pretorius is now this weird thing. He starts going after the girl, saying some heavy-handed shit like humans are such easy prey, which I think is the tagline for the movie.
Humans are such easy prey.
While she's being detained by Pretorius the mutant made of bubblegum, this brain or this eyeball stalk comes shooting out his forehead. It's just like this long and a ball on the end. That's his pineal gland, and it kind of just. And while this is going on, Barbara Crampton eventually gets a hold of a fire extinguisher, sprays the machine down, shorts it out. Right. They get away.
Pretorius disappears.
Yep.
So they escape.
They're back in the hospital. The girl is trying to defend him now. And
she saw it. She knows it's real. He's not crazy.
Yeah, and the main evil doctor at the insane asylum's like, well, you're crazy too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna electroshock you.
Right.
And she's like, you can't do that. And even the nurse is like, you can't fucking do that. She's like, I'm the main nurse. You do what I say. And Jeffrey Combs, who is just all sorts of fucked up now. At first they examine him and they see he has like a fork because the pineal gland sucked back into his head. He has like a forehead butthole.
That's right.
And this
she's
main
digging
nurse
around with forceps.
Just sticks some forceps in his forehead and he yanks it out. And it's all like, poof, and she's like, whoa.
Right.
Whoa, daddy. What's going on here? Not for nothing, but this is kind of weird. So, you know, after her examination, she's torturing the other doctor. Jeffrey Combs gets loose, and they find him. There's a closed door, and there's all this fluid, like pink fluid, coming out from under the door. And the main nurse, the evil nurse, I'll call her Nurse Ratchet. She's pretty much a Nurse Ratchet character in this movie.
Yeah.
Opens the door, and Jeffrey Combs is just eating a big bucket of brains.
Yeah.
There's just all these brains. He's eating brains.
Just nibbling at it on the ground in like kind of like a fetal sort of position.
And she's like, yo, put those down. They'll make you very sick. And he's like, they're delicious.
Yeah, and she's just freaked.
And then he realizes what he's doing. Oh. And he stops for now.
Right.
But he was eating the shit out of some brains.
And she starts kind of comforting him and starts kind of moving him towards the door. And he starts having like, it looks like a mini seizure sort of. And he starts seeing in that predator vision. And he's looking at her head, which you can see right through it. And the focus is her brain.
Yeah, like an 80s graphic of a brain shows up. He's like, oh, I'm going to chew on that.
Right.
So
which he does.
He runs at her. He sucks her eyeball out. And then eats her brain through the eyeball hole.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
What
fantastic scene.
Oh, it's great, man. What a horrific way to die. Like, it's just like, I always thought it was just such a cool way. It reminds me, it's like an Egyptian brain removal technique.
Yeah. So at this point, Dr. Tillinghast is which way I called him anti here in the beginning. He's kind of lost his fucking mind. And he goes on a spree of eating eyeballs and brains throughout the hospital. And he eventually gets into an ambulance and eats the ambulance people's brains. Gets the girl and abducts her back to the house where the resonator's at.
Right.
So he gets her back to the house, ties her up, at which point the machine turns itself back on. While all this is going on, she chews off his pineal gland dickhead thing with her teeth.
Yeah.
Which is what's making him evil. And he's all like, oh, I'm good again. But here comes Dr. Pretorius, who is now just this weird fucking mutant looking thing.
He has multiple phases,
He just mutates more and more the more you see him. Like, he went from a dude who's just tearing off his own face to like this weird, like almost Cabbage Patch Kid 80s like monster thing.
Each phase that he goes through is just more extreme than the next, and it's some of the most intense practical effects I've ever seen.
So Dr. Tillinghast sees him, and now he's freshly good again after bringing the girl back to him and tying her up, but she chewed his shit off. Looks at him and delivers another fantastic line in this movie, where he's like, "Come and get me, eunuch!
Come and get me, eunuch!"
Yeah.
To which the monster promptly chews his fucking head off. Kills the shit out of him. Somehow, now Dr. Tillinghast is inside Dr. Pretorius.
Right.
And comes ripping his way out of his mouth, and now he's got his hair back.
You're right.
The hair is back.
He's been reborn, and he's
reborn. He's got his lovely locks are back, his flowing mane of man hair.
Right.
Rips his way out of Dr. Pretorius, and there's like some inward wrestling moves going on. Like, I think he did a Batista bomb inside him. Did a Stone Cold Stunner.
It's like a fight to see who's going to emerge from this mound of flesh, of melting flesh.
Correct.
And goo. And at one point, there's just two monster heads kind of nipping at each other.
Yeah.
Remember that part?
Yeah.
And the whole Pretorius monster thing with combs mixed into it starts deflating.
Mm-hmm.
And
so while they're wrestling, the girl gets free, comes running from the house, and we cut over to the neighbor again, who was annoyed in the beginning of the movie. All the noise is going back up, and then the house just explodes.
yeah.
It just blows the fuck up.
Right. It explodes her out of the window.
I don't remember that.
Because then she falls and hits the ground.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It propels her out of the glass.
So she goes flying out the glass and breaks her leg on the sidewalk.
Bones hanging.
Bones hanging out. She's on the sidewalk. House is blown the fuck up.
Yeah.
The two Goober Gum boys got done with their wrestling moves. They're dead now. The machine's gone. The old lady comes up to try to comfort her, and all the neighbors are collecting at this point because a house blew up in their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Don't worry, honey, I called the fire department. Everything will be fine." And, they're looking at her leg, and she starts just kind of losing her mind and yells the words, "It ate him!" And then she just loses her mind and starts laughing, and boom, credits roll.
Yeah, it's a great ending. Just completely batshit crazy. She looks nuts.
Yeah. Now, like I said, when this movie gets going, there's very little filler. I mean, it's fucking balls to the wall bananas. They establish what's going on within like a couple conversations in the right after the intro, right after the credits roll, the intro credits. And then they're back in the house, and there's monsters and everything. Like, the practical effects work of this is really cool, really fun to watch.
Crazy, yeah.
Like, I'm a sucker for a practical effects monster movie, and this is just chock full of monsters. Great horror movie cast, like a lot of veterans from other cult classics, such as Reanimator, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Great director.
Amazing, yeah.
Big Stuart Gordon fan, even some of his lesser known movies I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, me too. I love Dolls, which we were mentioning earlier.
Dolls.
That's kind of a forgotten one.
There's even a movie not a lot of people are talking about where it was based on a true story of a woman who was partying and was driving home and hits a homeless man and he gets lodged in her window. And instead of calling anyone, she parks the car in the garage and waits for him to die.
Wow.
Made a movie about that too. I think it's called Stuck. And then he had another fantastic movie that had the guy who starred in Office Space, Peter, where Norm from Cheers, he witnesses Norm performing a crime and ties the dude from Office Space up and beats his head in with a golf club every day trying to fuck his memory up. So he would forget about this, and it kind of just turns him into kind of a super anti-hero. It was called King of the Ants. It was really fucked up too.
That sounds awesome.
So What are we doing on a grade system here? What would you give this movie?
Well, what are we picking this week for a grading system?
I'm gonna say stars will be Jeffrey Combs' bald head with pineal stalk.
Okay.
Those will be stars.
Okay.
Half stars.
About half-star chicken and dumplings.
Okay, yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah, so we got pineal Combs and chicken and dumplings as half stars. What would you give this movie?
Straight up, I'm going to give it, out of 5 possible points, I'm going to give it 5 Jeffrey Combs pineal glands. This
5 out of 5.
It's one of my favorite movies. I have more fun watching that movie than probably any other horror film.
I'm going to have to agree. I give it 5 as well.
Wow.
It's a personal favorite to me as well. I even have a original movie poster from when it first came out somewhere around here.
Really?
Yeah.
It's truly a monument to film, and I haven't really, other than you, I don't really know anyone who's ever seen it.
It's kind of a, it gets kind of swept under the rug because of Reanimator's very formidable shadow being cast over top of it. When people think Stuart Gordon and they think Jeffrey Combs, they think Reanimator. They don't think From Beyond.
Which is insane because this movie is just way more batshit than Reanimator.
Reanimator is a batshit movie, but this one is kind of this one goes to 11. It Spinal Taps the shit out of it. It dials it up that one extra notch beyond 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I couldn't recommend it enough. If you want like a fun party movie, you want to have a few beers, smoke a joint or something, and watch something that'll like trip you and your friends out, watch fucking From Beyond.
Totally. It's just when you think it's gotten as crazy as it can get, it trumps itself.
Oh, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. So, from all of us here at the campfire to you guys, thanks for joining us for another episode. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. It helps us out more than you think. If you like what you see, it'll help us get better production quality. Obviously, we need to up that a little bit. We're working on getting an actual studio put together.
Working on it.
Instead of, the giant green screen we got going on. There'll be like a real green screen.
Yeah. Coming soon.
Coming soon. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Helps get us support. Helps us be able to fund what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because we do this pretty much out of pocket.
Yeah, absolutely.
For your enjoyment, we love watching movies. We love talking movies, and that's what we're doing. So
totally.
From all of us here at the campfire, you guys have a good night.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
We were all crazy.